Welcome to In Layman's Terms, and today I have a very special video for you all. Budget gaming. Is it possible to find a 75-inch TV that supports 4K 120 under 3,000 Australian dollars? A good friend of mine recently asked me this very question and if I could help. For context, he lives in an apartment next to the beach with a lot of windows and natural light. So during the daytime, it does get extremely bright even with the blinds closed. For the OLED lovers, let's be real here. This kind of scenario is essentially an OLED's nightmare. In addition, there are zero OLED options at the 77-inch size that are anywhere close to the budget limitation. So unfortunately for this video, OLED is out. Before we proceed with the video, I'd like to include a disclaimer. The TVs I have shortlisted are either below $3,000 or at a price I believe I can negotiate below $3,000. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. After a bit of research, I have narrowed down what I believe are the best three options. First is Samsung's The Frame 2022 model 75-inch. I own two of the 2021 The Frame TVs, and I must admit, they are surprisingly good TVs. Going in, I knew these were more form over function, and I was okay with that. For example, my spare bedroom was a little on the smaller side, so I needed a TV that had a thin profile and would not stick off the wall. Say what you will about the Frame, from my experience, it is a very good TV for its budget price point. Of course, there are some concessions, and we will cover that in a moment. As you can see, I pre-wired my spare bedroom with the One Connect cable prior to installing the walls. When I was ready to wall mount, I made a small hole in the wall and used a brush plate to make it look clean. Some might say it's not the most elegant solution, but I'm actually quite pleased with it. I really like the One Connect box. Having access to the HDMI ports in an alternative location is very handy. I often connect my Xbox, and it's nice not having a HDMI cable running down the wall while it's connected. The QLED colors on the TV are very vibrant. The blacks are also respectable for an edge-lit panel. For a TV at this price point, you have to expect there will be a few concessions. And there is. The Frame is an edge-lit TV, so that means no local dimming zones. As a result, you may see some raised blacks when viewing dark content. However, it does have a VA type panel, so the native contrast is above average, which definitely makes a difference. VA panels aren't known for their wide viewing angles, and it certainly holds true in this case. If you're planning to put the TV in a location with wide viewing angles, you may notice a slightly washed out image when viewing from the side. The Frame does get quite bright, around 520 nits for SDR and 1120 nits for HDR on a 10% window. As required, 4K 120 is supported from a single HDMI input. The Frame is arguably one of the most attractive TVs available. It has various attachments you can add to change the color of the bezels. If you check out my previous video upgrading my office, you will notice I installed a teak colored bezel on the Frame TV, and it's quite striking. Moving on, we have the LG Nano 91. I do not own this TV, nor have I had much more hands-on time other than viewing it at my local retailer. The first thing I noticed about this TV was that in the store, its colors looked flat and washed out compared to all the others on display. By no means is that any way to make an accurate assessment, it was just my observation at the time. I was quite surprised, as when TVs are on display, they are all in something called store mode, which essentially cranks up all the colors and brightness in order to help the TV stand out. Like the Frame, the Nano 91 is lower on LG's tier of TVs. However, I feel that the Frame is a slight step up above in Samsung's own respective range. LG still has the UHD, QNED and OLED ranges, so it's kind of difficult to figure out exactly where this TV fits in. The Nano 91 has a full array local dimming backlight, however, it only has 32 dimming zones, which is essentially the bare minimum. The Nano does have decent brightness levels, around 440 nits for SDR and 1150 nits for HDR on a 10% window. As required, 4K 120. Last up, we have the Samsung QN85A. When I was shortlisting TVs for myself, I had the opportunity to spend a few hours with the Samsung range. I spent a brief amount of time with the QN85A, the QN90A, and the QN900A. Out of the 3 TVs shortlisted today, the QN85A is the most premium offering. The QN85A features an IPS panel, which means it will have a lower native contrast ratio than a VA panel. That being said, it does feature mini LED full array local dimming with a healthy amount of zones, 576 to be precise, so the TV will be able to achieve some deep blacks when viewing content. There was a moderate amount of blooming around bright objects, but unless you're looking for it, you wouldn't really notice it. I have found that once I explain what blooming is to people, once they are aware of it, they can't help but notice it. It's never a problem until you're looking for it. So keep in mind, we aren't talking high-end TVs here. This is budget premium at best. One major question mark for me would be around gaming. From my experience, as this is an IPS panel which has a lower native contrast ratio, I'm unsure if dark areas would appear washed out or if local dimming would be disabled when shifting into game mode. In terms of brightness, this thing kills them all. Around 1150 nits for SDR and 1250 for HDR on a 10% window. Once again, as required, this TV does support 4K 120, but does not support Dolby Vision HDR. In my opinion, I would personally go for the QN85A. Yes, it might not have the best blacks, but 80% of the time when you're streaming regular TV and movies, you're going to have a great experience due to the high number of zones. And at the least, during gaming, you will get 4K 120 with FreeSync Premium. One thing Samsung always brings to the table with QLED is that the colors will always look juicy. Now, some people don't like that look, but I personally am quite fond of it. So now we have our 3 contestants. I'll submit my findings to my friend and we will see which one he decides on and why. So please stay tuned for part 2, and if you guys have any other suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Until next time.